Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Briefcase in the Barn with me and Gary. This episode is sponsored by, I was going to say my coaching company today.
Okay, I thought you were going to do the Arbonne.
Yeah, I'm drinking Arbonne tea, but I'm not nearly as excited about Arbonne tea as I am.
Is that the colon lubricant?
I don't know. It just makes me feel better.
You said it was for gut health or something?
I'm not sure if the Arbonne tea exactly is for gut health. I know the other stuff is, but This tea just makes me not feel as sick as when I drink coffee. So if you like feeling good, I would recommend it. But if you don't like feeling good, don't drink it.
Isn't it a pyramid scheme?
I don't know. I just enjoy the product.
Okay.
I'm not saying how to business
One of the
works.
topics I want to talk about today was
I'm not
pyramid
saying go
schemes.
be a consultant. I'm saying I enjoy the products. I don't know how the business is set up. It doesn't bother me. I just like the products. Anyways,
Sorry, I'm not taking. I was just wanting to talk about pyramid schemes, and you're deflecting.
Okay, what do you want to say about pyramid schemes?
Just see a lot of them lately. A lot of people selling their wares, pushing their wares and their family and friends, and it kind of drives me crazy. I mean, you're allowed to promote it. You're allowed to promote anything you want on your own pages. Doesn't matter how annoying or obnoxious. People can unfollow you or whatever.
What if it only had a company name? Would it bother you less then? Is it that people are doing it personally?
No.
Under the personal brands?
No, it's that people try to sell their family and friends products, and they're sold a line by somebody further up the food chain that's making a cut off them selling stuff, and they're typically, as a general rule, pretty expensive products, and most people can't afford them. Most people are like struggling to pay their groceries.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, just like you put your friends in a tough spot when you ask them for a loan, like you just don't want to do that to your family and friends. Like, just, you know what? Like you could, like I say, you can totally post that, hey, you're selling the stuff, and people will know you're selling it, but
Don't be pushy about it. People don't want it.
People are pushy, man. People they're taught to be pushy. Have you ever been to one of those things? Like my parents went to Amway conferences back in the day, right? They had like certain chants.
Yeah, I hate that. That's repulsive stuff. I hate it.
Okay. Anyways,
that's terrible. That's like terrible sales.
Yeah.
That's what gives sales a bad name, is those guys.
I'm known to be pretty greasy myself, right? Cattle dealer / realtor. Those aren't the greatest reputations.
God's working on you, though. He's going to be.
Yeah, well, I'm going to try to save my reputation. I'm not going to do it by being on this podcast. I can assure you that.
That's makes two of us. Nice coffee cup, by the way. What does it say on the front there?
It says, coffee spelled backwards is EFOC, as I don't give EFOC until I had my coffee.
I got that from Julius Melgers. He's the guy on here. He's a realtor. Best looking realtor in town, Gary says.
He is the best real looking realtor. He's got the IQ of a small farm animal, but we won't hold that against him. It's growing, and maturity's growing. I think he's one of my favorite young guys. I'm joking.
And a good option if you're...
And he's a good option if you can't stand Gary Baars. It's probably a good halfie out there.
I need a good realtor that will work hard.
He's learning. He's a hustler. He's a hustler.
Yes.
He's doing great.
But back to the sponsor of the podcast.
It's actually one of the 6 listeners, too, so it's pretty bad if I just wiped out 12 or 13% of our...
It was 7.
Of our pool. It was 7.
The pool might be getting smaller as we go along.
I had 2 people this weekend tell me the only reason they listen is because they know me. One was my sister-in-law. She's like, if I didn't know you, I wouldn't listen to that verbal diarrhea coming out of your mouth. But you know what? I kind of know the background. Just picking up nuggets that she can use as weapons at a family dinner. I don't know.
Fair enough. Okay. What's our first topic? We'll get to that. Sponsor is my coaching company. If you own a business and you're enjoying that and you want to be successful at that, but you're also a Christian and you care about your faith, your family, free time, and doing those things in your life well as well, and you find that conflict happening, I can help you with that. I've been there. I would encourage you, just give me a call, and I could probably make it a lot better through coaching. A lot of other guys do it. There's good testimonials out there from the guys that I've worked with. I don't tell you to do anything. I just listen to where you're at, and I ask questions to help you get to where you want to go. So it's not about my opinions. It's understanding what you want and where you want to go. So if you're interested in that, shoot me a message. I'd love to chat. That is my spiel.
Okay. What was the proverb of the day? Let's start with a proverb.
Oh, this is golden.
We're reading through Proverbs with our kids after supper right now.
This was my proverb
we have
today.
To interrupt them every other verse because it's very relevant to our family life.
Okay, this was the reading for August 18, the proverb for August 18. It is better to live alone in the desert than with a quarrelsome, complaining wife. What do we learn from that, Gary?
Marry carefully, man. Marry carefully.
Very carefully.
Yeah. Just like hiring people, hire slowly, fire quickly. Except in the case of marriage, you don't get to leave. So
You don't get to leave. That's right.
Be paranoid.
Yeah.
Pick wisely. People do not realize how hard marriage is.
It can be hard.
Yeah. It's awesome, but it's really hard. People say I'm a total Debbie Downer for saying that, but I mean, as you know, my life story, I spent a lot of time working with people that, you've heard the saying, you're better off, not being married wishing you were than being married wishing you weren't to that person, right? So I just feel like if you have your people, your family and your closest friends, and the problem is that people will be giving subtle hints to people that are dating, especially long dating. Like, there might be some red flags, and I'll see it, they're giving subtle hints. But at some point, the close friends in particular, will just give up, being negative and critical because they're thinking, hey, at what point do I just want to be a good friend and be supportive? Am I not going to go to a wedding because they disagree with who the person's marrying? So don't put your friends in that spot. Actually open up your ears at some point in the journey and say, hey, like, do you think this person's going to, and if every last person is saying, yeah, they're awesome. Yeah. That's probably a pretty good sign, right? If you have good friends, if you have crappy friends, well, then you're really in deep trouble. So start with having good friends first before you go looking for a husband or a wife. That'd be my advice.
Well, just take care of your own shit. If you take care of your own stuff and be who you're supposed to be, you're going to attract good people. It's just you attract kind of who you are.
Yeah, you don't want to be with a quarrelsome wife.
No. Yeah.
My wife gets quarrelsome once a month, and I can't stand it.
Once a month only?
Yeah, only once a month.
That's the nice thing about Nicole being pregnant right now. Hey, if you can't make...
Now we're down 2 listeners. Julius and the missus have pieced out. Can't take the verbal abuse. My wife is a saint. She is a very gracious lady. Very rarely is she edgy.
I was going to say about like the quarrelsome wife thing. If a lot of people do marry and afterwards you realize, like, crap, like I should have thought this through better.
Should have thought this through better.
But if you're in that spot, it can get better.
Yeah, and the other thing is everybody's difficult to be married to. Like we're all, that's the other thing that really upsets me, right? Because people right away when they get people really, they get pissed off because they're thinking, hey, this person's not who I thought they were, and they're frustrated and their needs are not being met. Well, like, welcome to marriage. Like, the reality is that life is hard and you're going to go through seasons where one person is not pulling their weight. It's never 50-50. People, dating couples as a general rule, all their needs are being met by the other person, right? So,
but if you both choose to work at it,
sometimes only one person is, and sometimes that person might be you. And I think that's where people fail. They think, well, like, if we were I'm willing to do my part. If the other person was, we'd be fine. No, like sometimes it's just going to be you pulling your own weight.
That's the only thing you can control.
That is the only thing you control. And I mean, I think the Bible talks about, even being married to people that aren't Christians and stuff, like there's great examples of that. And I know people in that spot, and it's about being a witness, no different than any other situation where you're turning the other cheek, right? And it's funny how we look at that in outside of the context of marriage, where it's like, yeah, we should turn the other cheek, or if someone wrongs us, just, be gracious. Well, we don't look at that in marriage. It's always, often there's a scorecard out, and it's just really hard. But there's a beautiful thing, and I always love like going to anniversary parties and stuff, people that have been married 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, and they're honest people. They just tell you that the tough times, it's beautiful. Like, it's a great example of our faith, right? It's just kind of like, hey, the fact of the innocent person being on the cross, right? And that's we're supposed to be, as men, we're called to be Christ-like. So if we were Christ-like, there probably would be a lot less quarrelsome women in the world, right? That would be my comment on that. But
I know. What do you like? There's the sexual infidelity thing when it comes to marriages that breaks a lot of marriages apart. But there's also like physical abuse by a lot of men that that happens. How do like if you get asked, how do you what do you do? How do you support someone that's in that situation that like doesn't want to leave?
I mean, in all my years of leading Freedom Session and hundreds of people now going through in the last, 8-9 years, I've only one time experienced like real physical abuse that I know of. I mean, granted, a lot of times people are probably Although I think I would have found out about it. I mean, I guess I'm not qualified to comment in the sense that I've never been in that situation. I feel like at all times people need to be protected, right? And so I do feel like in our culture in general, people quickly say I'm being abused. People like, no, that's just human being behavior, and you're difficult and they're difficult. And yes, you can't stand that behavior. But like you said it the best earlier, like what can we control, right? And that's kind of our calling in our marriage is to first work on our own stuff. And as a general rule, when people do that, typically, and I've seen it because I've helped people move in and out of houses before, right?
Who? In is better.
In is better, but out happens too, right? You know, people need safe spaces. People need time. And I mean, I'm not a big fan of separation at all, even for a season, but sometimes it is needed, right? And if there's a commitment that it is for a season, I'm not opposed to it. And
it was good for us. What we should have done was we shouldn't have gone back together as quick as we did. We should have just stayed separated longer instead of doing it 5 times. But hindsight is 20/20. It's not something you're really thinking about. You're like,
no, and you can't.
You're just barely surviving.
You're barely surviving, and people in that state are barely surviving. And while you're dealing with that, you still have every other regular challenge that you have in life with parenting and kids and financial stuff. So, and obviously, separation adds a burden of financial stress, right? I mean, that is the beauty of being part of a church or something, right? Where, you know, if people are involved, people are walking alongside you financially, they're going to help. They're, you know, the church is probably going to provide a rental space at least for a season or counseling and stuff. So, yeah, I just think that people as a general, when they come to me and they're struggling in their marriage, they always think that, oh, you have a way better spouse. Well, I might have a better spouse, but I'm not easy to be married to. And my wife is a faithful wife, right? So I'm just thinking, hey, like,
I'm
you know,
there.
you understand, right? So I think it just feels like people are very quick to lay blame and to not own it, and because it's just easier. It sucks, right? So, anyways, that all stemmed from getting up on the roof.
Dave Curry tells me
to the
go be a fullback. Fullback apparently is a football position.
Yeah.
He's a big football guy. He goes, you're the fullback, and so you just like make sure you take care of everything at home. Like you are the final call.
Yeah. Just
take good care of it.
Yeah. I heard a pastor one time, a couple of sayings that have stuck with me. One time he, the pastor that I was listening to said, you know, even if it may not be your fault in any way, but it's always your responsibility as the man. And so I think that a lot of times guys are just thinking, hey, like I didn't create this mess, or, you know, a lot of times it's maybe the woman that's unfaithful or whatever. And no, but it's still your responsibility, and it's your job to pursue your wife, even if you're not feeling like it. And it's your job to make peace, which, I mean, often I struggle with. I hate conflict. I had conflict in the last week and was just kind of like wanted to be a big baby and hide. And like, no, like just man up. And no, she just ran after me, right? Just set me straight. But,
smart lady.
Yeah, she's a great lady. But anyways, it was kind of like, you know, men tend to be, in our culture, tend to be babies, right? And we tend to,
yes, I would agree with that.
We are, we're the heroes in the video games or some other weird, you know, whatever the escape route is, you know, hockey, pools or whatever. But it's like, you know, get in the trenches and get your hands dirty and actually be willing to get in messy stuff, right? That's what I would call people to do.
No, I mean, they do it in their business. They're willing to like do super hard things and like do super complicated projects.
Yeah,
and, like,
but when it comes to the emotional connection, it's like, whoa.
But it's just hard work.
Yeah.
It's just both are hard work.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it's hard, not hard work. Like,
yeah, I do think that the bulk of guys, especially in our culture, but just in general, men are in our society are not taught to do intimacy well. They're not taught to.
No, they're told to shut up.
Yeah, they're either told to shut up or they're taught that to be silent is to be strong. And it's like, no, like you can engage in. Yeah, I think there's a beautiful thing when people can be vulnerable, right? And it's really cool when guys can be in. So, yeah.
Okay. That's that topic. How did that? Okay. Patience.
Oh no, we were going on the
proverb. That's where we were doing.
That's where we were going from the proverb.
Okay, that was your proverb of the week.
The fruit of the spirit is patience.
Yeah. You patient with your kids?
No, I had a talk with my son about it yesterday. Had a heart-to-heart with him about it. Apologized to one of my daughters last night when I talked to her in for being impatient and becoming very angry. But no, I'm not a patient person. Good things come to those who wait. But Also, the early bird gets the worm. So I don't know. I mean, there's a
I
saying for everything.
I have this with Malachi, asking for feedback. Like,
Yeah.
how's it going in our like relationship? And he's like 7 now. So, like, you think we're having fun? You think there's like things between us that we need to talk about? And he's like, yeah, I think lately you're not really being patient anymore.
Were you ever being really patient? Means you were being patient, obviously.
I guess I've done like
Better
up and
than you
down.
were.
Yeah. And I was like, okay,
It's all relative.
that's good feedback. I appreciate that. Thank you. And he's like, you're welcome. So, yeah, clearly something.
What does the word patient mean to you?
I think going above what's like normal, like being gracious beyond what's like the standard. So like when you're just extra patient with your kids, like you just like, they still don't get it after the 5th time of, I don't know, pulling a chair in at the supper table or something like small or big or whatever else like that. And they left the hockey sticks outside again or whatever, just something like simple, and just teaching them again. It's interesting. I thought of the word discipline, and someone said it came from the word disciple. So you're discipling your kids. Disciplining is like discipling your kids. And so you're like in teaching them. They don't know yet. They don't know life yet. And instead of thinking of it as like punishing them as like to get in line. So I think it's thinking of it more that way. You agree?
Yeah, I guess I struggle with, I feel like with my personality, I have no actual concept of what the word patient means. You know, they do those tests on those kids, little kids, where they say, hey, you can have 1 candy now, or if you wait 5 minutes, I'll give you 2. You know, do you want to wait 5 minutes or just take the 1 candy now? And every kid takes the 1 candy, or most do anyways. I mean, there's probably the odd kid. And I've always been the 1 candy now kid. And yeah, I just feel like there's, even in business, I think I've mentioned this before on here, I've really probably lost a lot of money because I couldn't just wait a little bit. I was too impulsive and too paranoid, and just like, no, you know what? Things just take time, and especially in business, actually, the compounding effect is always happening. So it's like, if you can just be patient, well, and plus inflation is eroding your money. So
when you're being impatient, you're not trusting God. You're taking things into your own hands.
Yeah, and that's really where it stems from. It stems from this deep sense of having to control things myself, and I feel like even now I'm in a season of working on a few different deals, and it's just like,
you pray about him? Do you like talk to God about him? And
not enough. I do a bit, but not enough, and probably just not enough actual prayer about it. Serious prayer. I pray. You know, I've prayed for wisdom, and but I mean, like, am I really
vague?
Well, and am I really willing to let it go if it's not meant to be? And I've had a few closed doors recently, but it's tough because sometimes, you know, in life here we'll be working. I've had things where I had to work on, and it's like, oh, the door closes. Well, it means you're supposed to work harder. Like, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean just because something doesn't work out that, hey, that wasn't meant to be. It was maybe a detour. Yeah. Maybe it was just to teach patience. Yeah. So I think that can really vary depending on the situation, right? And those are things I struggle with. My personality has always been to try harder and to push things through. And so for me, just to be able to let things go and be okay. And I have felt the deep sense in the last, like, since we sold our farm in Greendale in 2020, like, we had adopted 3 kids in that year or whatever. They were all became foster kids at that season. It took 2.5 years to adopt them, but we went from having 2 kids back to having 5 kids. And then even in the last year, we've had another kid, so we have 6. And it's like, I feel, and they're 10 and under, and I've just felt like, personally, I've had a real sense of peace of not having a lot going on, like the level that we did where we were on a farm, and, you know, I was out in the barn a couple times a day, just like, no, we were meant to be in this season where we were living on a smaller place, and we had a bit of more financial freedom than we did before, and just not be as pressured, because I would always use the crushing weight of debt to justify working more and the next deal. And so, I mean, I still do that now, obviously way too much, but it's been a healthy season.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always wrestle with those things, right? Well, yet, I mean, and this is the part where I've asked other entrepreneurs, and you had Bill Boosterd on a while ago. He's one of the guys that I've met before, and asked him, it's like, oh, am I supposed to just sell every business I own and like go into some type of ministry or something? Like, he's like, no, like, you do it.
No, I think Christian business owners are super important, and like doing it well.
Yeah, he explained it really well.
Yeah. It makes me think of this quote, though. I read it today. I reposted it. I don't have time equals it's not a priority. You literally allocate your time to bigger priorities. That is the reality. What you're doing
is your priority.
Is what your priority is, yes.
Mm-hmm. Marie and I always struggle with that.
Why?
Just because there'd be things that she didn't think we have time for, or I don't think, and it's like exactly that. Like there is always enough time in a day. If we say there isn't, one of the things Ken Dick says in Freedom Sessions is like, if you say there's not enough time in the day, you're basically blaming God, saying he didn't give us enough hours in the day. No, he gave us 24 hours and he gives us the time to sleep and to do what we're supposed to do. And it's the allocation piece that we're struggling with. And what does he actually want us to do, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we knew in hindsight, or if we could see his vision for our lives and how bad we were spending our time, or what we're. I mean, you and I know it's not supposed to be on social media. We know that there's a lot of.
Yeah, I think it's just still priorities. It's like what you want. I think it's coming to sometimes you have to realize what you want is not good. Like sometimes you just want work more than your family.
Yeah.
And like that's just the fact of
that's
where
the camp I fall into.
That's just what and if you're in that spot, I think that's like, well, I have tons of desires I shouldn't have either. Like, like God changed my heart. I think that's just like what we should be asking for, because we can't do it ourselves. Like that's what I love about Christianity. Like, why am I like into this stuff? It's because the weight's not on me. Like it's not about my performance or how I'm showing up or what I'm doing. It's like I can trust God that He's working in me to turn me into who I'm supposed to be. I'm trying to be faithful, try to be open to other guys, try to don't have secrets, that kind of thing. But otherwise, how
many people do you think have secrets?
99.99.
Yeah.
I mean, think about this. Nicole talked to someone said this to me the other day. I think it's like 9 out of 10 guys look at porn once a month.
You think so?
Those are I think the stats. I should go get actual stats somewhere. I think
you should put a poll can you do an anonymous poll on your Instagram page?
Guys won't be honest there either.
Not even if it's anonymous, or it can't be anonymous.
I'm sure it could be anonymous. I could figure something out, but I mean, I guess I could try it.
Yeah, do a poll.
But let's say it's like, let's go on the low end. Let's say it's 7 out of 10. So that's 10 guys in your family. Only 3 guys aren't looking at porn. Yeah. And there's no way that's being talked about in your family. And there's no way that those guys are talking to someone about it and stuff like that. And some of them are probably a lot of people are actually okay with porn, but that's a whole nother subject.
I guess the bulk of the people in our circles that are going to church are thinking, hey, it's really bad, but we're never going to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Which makes no sense to me. I do not understand that. Yeah. It's such a prevalent thing. And because of the shame, then it becomes such a downward spiral in your own head, right? I mean, I just remember sitting in church feeling like such a fraud and such a piece of crap, and like just thinking, oh man, I got to beat this, right? And so it's only, and the devil loves that, it's only when things come into the light that they're actually, that they can be.
Well, I mean, I think that's the gift I got through like my whole thing and like cheating on Nicole is it forced me to deal with my crap. Like Nicole said to me one year, she said, we will never stay married if you don't deal with the crap in your childhood.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so she's like, pick your hard. So I love that saying.
Pick your hard. Yeah, so it'll be, more will be revealed. I do feel like in some areas, like for example, in the world I'm living in, there is a lot of honesty about it, right? And I mean, anytime I meet someone, like, I had young people come over that were becoming ministry partners at our church or whatever. It's like, I just ask point blank, right? It's like, or if they're dating, I ask how they're doing, or, and there again, like, I don't expect perfection or whatever. Like, I mean, we're a human being too, but it's just like, it's just a beautiful thing when somebody can ask you and actually care and say, hey, like, and not because,
but also like
box checking.
If you're talking to someone about it, it just gets so much easier. Like when it's when you try to do shit alone that it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like and there's people that will want to help you, like 100%, if you want it.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't want it. It's just too easy to keep going with what's going on now. There's no pressure, right? When there's no pressure on someone, and it's just like a secret they can just hold, and it's not really like causing problems because they're not being open about it or whatever.
It was interesting for me. I don't know if I shared this in the first episode where I shared a bit of my story, but like I was basically, in that trajectory of doing all the wrong things, watching the wrong things, fighting it, going for periods of time, feeling real good about myself. Once again, it's all about me, right? Just trying to do the right thing. And all of a sudden, I meet Brock, and he says to me, he was the youth pastor at the church I was at the time, and good buddy of mine, great guy. And he just said, like, I kept saying, I'd like to have a wife. I'd like to have a wife. It's like, well, like, what kind of wife do you want? Well, you want a godly wife, a good lady, right? It's like, well, look at your private life. Like, how's your well, no, it doesn't look that great. Well, like, what do you expect? Like, God's saving her and saving you. So, like, get your crap together, right?
Yeah.
And, so, and it was through that process, like you're talking about, where it's just like, and like you've said many times, do it for yourself. Like, don't do it for your marriage. Don't do it for your future spouse.
Yeah,
like,
life's better on the other side.
Well, yeah. And like, it's like, what
Way
does
better.
God call us to, right? Calls us to purity, right? And what does that look like? And the thing is, in our culture, and here again, I mean, it's not popular opinion, but like, people justify all kinds of gray area, right? And it's just like how people dress and the things people watch. And well, it's the show that I watch and it's my show. And it's like, no, like what are you filling your head with, right? And it's a monster, like it's a dragon. If you feed it, at least that's been my experience with guys. It's like,
yes,
have a tender conscience. Like, a tender conscience is a beautiful thing, right? And so, yeah, that's, I think, even, and it's women too, but obviously and
I think it's also like a lot of people get really discouraged how that they can't get over it.
But many people do.
But many people do.
Many people do.
That's when I was going to say that. Like,
okay.
It's like you can. It's like, just if you put your mind to it and you really want it,
and you take the right steps.
I can give you the 6 steps, and if you follow them, you'll be free. Like, you just got to work.
Yeah.
Don't be up.
Yeah. And lots of people are.
Beep.
I think that's the encouraging word of the day, is that if you're happen to be listening to this and you're stuck in a bad cycle, you can become fully free from the addiction. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes. Okay, that's it for today. We are going to go into overtime and answer a whole bunch of listener questions that I got. We got questions from Steve.
Can we answer
DJ?
One question before overtime?
Okay.
Let's wrap up with a final question.
Okay. Which one are we going to pick here?
Well, you give people a sense of what overtime's about, right? Sometimes it gets a little out of hand.
I got feedback from Brett that the camera settings aren't good. To what extent do we as Christians need to multiply? Do we leave it up to God to give us as many children as we are willing to let him? That's a doozy. No.
I never know.
Use your brain. Use your brain. Like, if
you
it's
think
like,
so?
Oh yeah, you have to use your brain for everything else. You don't just go like, I fully trust you in this area, and so I'm not even going to think about it and just see what happens. We plan our businesses. We plan our
but I think we plan
everything
way
else.
more than we're supposed to. I think we're supposed to trust a lot more.
Fair enough, but like,
that's a little rich coming from me because shooting blanks. But I mean,
I should be careful what I say here.
Don't you think that people try to control their lives too much in that area as well?
Yes. Well, I think people don't see the value in kids and how much joy they give you. And like how much like long-term joy as well. Like, it's good to have a full family. If it's Dave Curry's family, like, he was brought up well, and I think he led his home well. And I think you see it now in his family. I'm sure they have their things. But like,
did he have a lot of kids?
Yeah. They have 5 kids, I think.
Okay. Is that a lot?
I would say it's a lot of kids.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say that, like, I think they couldn't have done that if they had like 7 or 8 or 9 kids. You can't give that many kids good attention and like love them well and take care of them. Like
I think you can have 2 kids and not pay attention to your kids at all.
Oh, I mean, that happens probably more often than not, because that's how many kids parents usually have, is they neglect their kids and don't take care of them and don't value them. And then you're just...
Or just like you and I, where it's just like so many things are competing for our time and we're distracted. And even when we're at home, we're on our device or we're watching something. I don't know. But I hear what you're saying. I think that's separate, a lot of attention, but
I think that's separate though from like how many. If you just like don't think about how many kids you should have, you should parents not taking care of their kids or valuing them or like.
And people, to be fair,
want to be financially.
Now I'm going to flip to the other side, real fence sitter here. But people do have a lot of children sometimes and probably have them a little quickly. Like, and I'm talking a lot of kids, and then do have some real struggles because of it. Now, it could be a myriad of other problems. I don't know. I mostly struggle with the fact
that was my biggest mistake I've made in my life, like having, let's say I had way too many kids or something like that, and I shouldn't have, like, I'd be like, I'm pretty happy with that if that was my biggest mistake.
I always, yeah, I probably shouldn't have an opinion on it, but of course I do because I have an opinion on everything. I really struggle with people that like, oh, we're going to, save up this amount of money and, we're going to do this first and we're going to do this. And it's like, well, now you can't have children. Marie and I are an example of that, and doing fertility treatments. And
is that what you did? You guys chose not to have kids for a long time?
Well, for a season, right? And it's just like, like Marie was really, really young, right? And just, she could hardly handle being married to me, let alone having my children. It's like, okay, this guy's a whack job, right?
Yeah.
To adjust to that, going from basically, just graduated very quickly to being married. I just feel like I see it all the time, and I just think people are like, if we are, we believe God's sovereign, and we do, and it's like, hey, we think that he has the best plans for us. There again, you're right. Like, we do make a lot of plans, and we think about, you still got to use your brain. I just feel like that's an area where people really like to control their life, right? We like to control everything. We like to control our jobs and our careers and our families. And, and you just see it. You see in your life, right? Like, with your daughter, it's just like, okay, that you had a plan out of your control, right? So I feel like that's an area where a lot of Christians seem to all of a sudden veer back into, hey, no, I'm in control of this one, right? And we're just not. So,
yeah, I guess you have to ask yourself why you're doing it. Why, if you only want to have one, if you only want to have 10, like what's your reasoning?
Why are you having 10? Yeah. Or are you just never ever thinking about controlling the situation, and however many you have as you have?
Yeah. But then are you also, I would argue, then trusting God that same way in all the other areas of your life? Or if you just like cherry picking that one, then I'm like, you're kind of a fraud, because that doesn't work.
Yeah, this is the one area that we really are going to say, hey, we're not going to have any interference here.
Exactly. But you're interfering everywhere else.
That's a fair comment.
That doesn't make any. Okay. Off to overtime.
Okay.
If you want to go on overtime and watch the rest of these questions being answered, go to patreon.com/furiously curious.
Do you put a link in there or not at this
point
in the show?
And if you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link in the description.
Okay.
But people can spell that out and go there. $5. Watch the rest of the episodes. Help us create more cool content. I actually have a super good series for the hitchhikers that we can do, but I'll talk about that in overtime. Hey guys, thanks for listening to another episode of the Briefcase in the Barn. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to listen to some overtime clips, I'll play a few right now, and you can kind of get an idea of what overtime's all about. And if you want to watch those, you can go to patreon.com/furiously curious and enjoy those. So this is what you would get with that. Take a look. This is to all the wonderful people that are giving us $5. I will tell one of my favorite prank stories I did on my dad. And my mom told my dad that I had drugs in my room.
And we went and bought a pet rat and went into the ladies' bathroom, snuck in there, got in the stall. And they don't even charge you for the extra cups. No. They just feel sorry for you because they think you're so broke, right? If there's any way we can create more value for those people that are paying. But when you start paying, you deserve quality.
Okay, if you enjoyed those, again, patreon.com/furiously curious. $5 a month. And we started these in episode 4 already, so you can go back and watch all the different overtime episodes if you're interested in that. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Please like the videos, subscribe to the channel, rate the show on the different podcast apps so that you can do that on. It goes a long way. Leave a comment on social media. Send some feedback via the website, furiouslycurious.co, in the contact form there. Also, if you have questions or topics you think we should talk about, feel free to shoot me a message there. That's going to be you can send messages anonymously if you want. So hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.